So let's get started. So Lisa, welcome. Thank you for joining us for Joomla User Group of New Jersey to teach us everything we need to know about the Cassiopeia template, but no pressure whatsoever.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
Lots of familiar faces here and names I already know. Nice to meet you. Also nice to meet everyone new here who doesn't know me. My name is Elisa, as already known. I'm from Germany. I live in nearby Stuttgart in Schwäbisch Hall. Maybe I show some pictures later on if we have time. But I think you will have a lot of questions about Cassiopeia. And hi, Joe. Laura asked me to make a presentation about Cassiopeia, and I said yes without knowing anything about it. Some of you might think that I was maybe part of the Cassiopeia team. I was for a very short time, but to be honest, I did not contribute anything. So all the applause is on the shoulders of someone else. And last week I took some time to dive into Cassiopeia and to see what's possible. And I think it's very good that I show you how it works, because I have also like an outside perspective on it, and had to gain all the informations about the template myself. The first thing I want to show you, and here's the obligatory, let me share my screen. I have here a fresh Joomla installation on my local host. And nothing done yet. I just installed it like 10 minutes ago. And first thing is that I will show you where you find Cassiopeia. You find it if you go here on the system menu item. Oh, it's locked out. So you click on system and you end up on this overview here. And there are different boxes for setting up Joomla, for installing something. And here's a box called templates. And here you find the site templates and the site template styles, and also the administrator templates and administrator template styles. To change something in Cassiopeia template, you click here on Site Template Styles, and you have here the default template style, which is assigned to the page. I open the page in a new tab, so we see always the results. So this is the blank Cassiopeia as it is when we install Joomla. I switch back to the template, and you see here Cassiopeia, and this is the default template. And you have here, when you click on this title, you have different settings you can change already about Cassiopeia. Here in this advanced tab, you can change the brand, means the logo of the template. Brand is activated, it's yes. If I click on now and click on save and reload the page, you see the whole banner is gone at the top. I go back on the template settings and I click on brand yes, and I will select here a logo. I click here select, and the new media manager has here the Joomla logo. I select it, save. And when I go back on the tab and reload, I have here the Joomla logo inserted. And here's also something, it's called tagline. It's actually text which is shown below the logo. Just type in here hello, click on save, And when I reload the page, you see there's this hello below the logo. And if I don't have any logo, I can just remove it. And alternative to the logo, type here, it's my cool website. Save. And when I reload it, it says it's my cool website and the tagline below. These are the brand settings I can make in Cassiopeia Template. Then we have here a setting, it's called Fonts Scheme. And I can select here from 3 different fonts. The one font is Roboto. And Roboto is a good readable font, and it's loaded local from the template folder. It's local because also the backend template is using Roboto. And in some countries, it's from the GDPR obligatory to have the fonts locally hosted. And then here are 2 more fonts. Fonts from web, Fira Sans, it's more playful font. It's still a good readable font, but a little more playful. And the Roboto and Noto Sans font loaded from the web. Here you have a message that if you don't load the fonts from the web, it might have a performance impact on your website. This for the font settings. There's no possibility to add something to the list as far as I'm concerned. I looked for solutions if you can add some fonts here, but I think no. But we will come to this later on when we talk about customizing the template. Then you have here a color theme you can select from. It's standard and alternative. The standard one is this purple theme. And when I select alternative and click on save, I have here like wine red color, or how to call. That's the alternative theme. And there's currently a PR made by Brian Tiemann on GitHub, which would introduce the possibility to add here more presets. If you like this feature, you can test it on GitHub. I will provide the link later. So there will be the possibility to add here more presets. Then we have here a setting for the layout. You can choose between static and fluid. When I select fluid, you see when I reload the page now that it goes on the full width of the website. And here's a sticky header option. You can select yes, and then I cannot demonstrate it now because I don't have enough content on the website. But the header will be sticky on scrolling. Well, I can demonstrate it like that. It's sticky at the top. Yeah. And last but not least, from the main style settings, you have here a feature. It's a back to top link. If you select yes and save this, you have a back to top icon at the bottom of the page. Again, we have to scroll a bit here, which navigates you to the top of the site if you want to. So this is all you can do in the template style itself. In the next moment, I will jump to the module positions and the settings. Before doing that, do you have any questions about what I just showed? Was something too fast, or did you not understand something?
So Richard added to the chat the GitHub request that you mentioned, the pull request that Brian's
Thank
working
you.
on. So everyone has that. And I am also taking some notes as well. So when I post this to the website, I will include some of these notes. And Max mentioned about installing I'm assuming installing the demo content, but that's okay. We don't need the content. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, keep going.
Okay, so yes, installing the demo content, I found out like also 10 minutes, 20 minutes ago, that it sets up your Cassiopeia completely and you don't have to do anything. But I think it's good to know the basics about the template and how to set it up yourself, because if you install the demo contents, you have a lot of demo articles, and then you have to clean up your whole page and remove everything you don't need. So maybe it's good to know how to set up the basics yourself. And maybe afterwards I will click on install sample contents, and you see how it looks like when the sample contents are installed.
Elisa, I have one question about adding an SVG logo. To upload, when you upload a different logo, can you do a logo in that module position instead of using this logo, or is that something you'll talk about later?
I had this question today from Michael. Michael is also here. You could disable the brand here if you want, and maybe publish the logo, the SVG code from the logo in a module position. And then you have the SVG code there. For that, you of course need to check the TinyMCE filters, that your SVG code is not cleaned up in the module. And the second possibility is to add SVG as supported format in the Media Manager. And then you can upload a SVG too. The only thing is, as far as I saw on other websites I already started on working with Joomla for, is that you don't see the contents of this SVG. You see like a transparent box, but you don't see the contents. But you can still use the images and upload them if you just set it up in the Media Manager.
What position would that be? Is there a position called logo?
Yes, that's a topic I want to talk about now, actually, about the module positions. You can find out which module positions you have by clicking here on a link. If you don't have a link here, but the message no preview available, you can enable the preview in the options here at the top. That's the same like in Joomla 3 now. You click on options, and then you have this preview module positions, and you can enable it. And when you click save and close, you have here now a preview link. And when you click on it, it opens your template in a new tab. And you have here the module positions from the Cassiopeia template. But I'm not sure if it was different in Joomla 3. I think so. It seems that not all module positions are listed here. That's why I created an overview, and I will share it with you later, so you don't have to take notes. Everything I will tell you today, you will find under a link I will share with you. And yeah, that are the module positions of the Cassiopeia template. You have the top bar, you have below top, you have brand, which is unfortunately not a module position. It's just the position for the, let's say, brand utility of the template style. That's not a module position. Then you have the menu module position. search, banner, top A, top B, breadcrumbs, sidebar left, main top, which is inside the component area, sidebar right, main bottom, again inside of the component area, bottom A, bottom B, footer, and debug. Very basic, but you can customize those module positions and the CSS later on. So these are the module positions. And now let's see how to set up the modules. The modules are in Joomla 4 now in the content menu item. You find it here at site modules. And when you click on site modules, you have here the breadcrumbs, the main menu, and the login form. And let's see how the menu looks like here. You see here main menu and home. And you maybe want to move the menu to the top here below the logo. For doing that, you click here on the link of the module. And you see that the module is published on the position sidebar right. Let's see, it's here on the sidebar right, and we want to move it in the menu position. Okay, let's say menu, and I will maybe hide the title and click on save. And when I reload the website, I have here my home menu item already at the top. And when I add more menu items, let's do that quickly. I don't know how many of you already worked productively with Joomla 4, but it's so fast. If you take use of this plus icons here and get used to the navigation, it's so fast. Yeah, it's really fun, I think, to work with it. So menu item 2, select. What do I select? Let's select first a single article. I think you know that you can create an article directly from the menu item. Save and close. Let's create a new one. Menu item 3. Okay. And let's put the menu item 3 below the menu item 2 as a parent. And when I reload it now, we see home and menu item 2, and the menu item 3 is not visible because we need to set up the module, the menu module more. So let's close the menu items and switch back to content site modules. And here in the main menu, we have to do some more. So the first thing is in the advanced tab, we have here the layout. And Cassiopeia Template comes with 2 alternate layouts for the menu. The one is a collapsible drop-down, and the second one is a simple drop-down. The difference between those 2 is that collapsible drop-down, let's save this, you have in the mobile view the burger toggle for the menu, And at the other one, the menu is just stacked. Let's look at it. You have here home and menu item 2, and you have here the drop down. And when I look at the mobile view, you have the toggle here. And when I switch the layout to not collapsible drop down, but to drop down and save it, it's just stacked. There's no toggle. So that are the two options for the drop down. Yeah, and that's basically all you can do with the menu for now. The other thing I would like to add for you is the site header, the banner at the top of the template. You know it from the Cassiopeia demo content and from the demo websites. Yeah, let's add this banner at the top. You click site modules again, here, plus or here, and add a custom module. And here in the title, you can write whatever header. I hide the title anyway, and I publish it on the position banner. Let's look at the positions. Here I want that it's displayed here below the menu in the banner position. Here in the editor, I can just write hello, welcome to Cassiopeia. Maybe I make it a heading. Okay, and I center it. What else to do? We can check the menu assignments of the module. It's now displayed on all pages. We can just select the home item. And here in options, I can select the background image for the banner. Let's select the space image. It's here in banners. And let's check in the advanced tab if there's a layout. There's a layout override from Cassiopeia template. And I select this. And when I click on save and reload the page, nothing there because I'm not in home. Here's the banner. Laura.
So pretty. That looks beautiful. And just to backtrack real quick, Richard did put a note about a GitHub request about showing all of the module positions. So I'm just adding that to the notes. But guys, look how beautiful that is. Core. Okay, keep going, Elisa. Does anyone have any questions? That's great. Thank you.
So this is the way how you set up modules. You put it on the module position, and the favorite part about is it's not from Joomla 4. It was already there in Joomla 3 that you can select layout overrides and customize the output of a module. And I even took some just mod custom modules and made overrides for it. Or my most favorite module to override is the newsflash module. I made like sliders and different displays of modules. And that's a really good thing. So it's really powerful. And I'm glad to see that Cassiopeia uses overrides too, because it can be a showcase for others how to make own overrides. Now I want to talk with you about how to customize your template. To customize the template, you need to add a user.css file. And you can add it if you click here on System. There are two ways how to get there for now. There are some updates I have to talk about later, but for now you have two ways to get there. If you're already here on the site template styles or click it by accident, happens too, you can reach the template by just clicking here on Cassiopeia and you're in the template files. The same thing, or the same page you can reach when you click here on System and click on Site Templates. Then you end up in the template manager. You have your preview of the template and click here on Cassiopeia details and files, and you have the same view open. So there are two ways how to get there. I add the spoiler now. It will change in very short time. And Joomla 4.1, you will have a unified view for templates. There will be no separated view anymore, and it will change a lot about how templates are managed, because you will have child templates in Joomla 4.1. So maybe we can trash my whole presentation afterwards, but I'm happy to investigate into child templates too and come again. So for now, use a CSS file. You click into the template and you have this view open, and to add a new file, you click here on the new file button at the top. And then a model window opens and you write here the file name user. You select the file type CSS and stop, don't click on create yet. You have to select the CSS folder here. It's very important that this is selected. I'm teaching a bunch of kids about Joomla, and even if I told them that they have to mark this folder, like half of the class did wrong, and the user CSS file did not end up in the CSS folder, and then the template does not recognize it. So be sure that it's marked. Click on create, and then we can check if the user CSS file is in the CSS tree here. So it's there, all good. So what's next? I need to know from you, how good are you in CSS? Can you write it maybe in the chat?
Just go for it. Well,
Should
I don't think you have to teach the purpose of CSS, but just show examples of things that you've done. I think will be perfect.
Okay. You can read it up later, because I prepared a blog post about CSS and in Cassiopeia. And I added some CSS basics, how CSS works, because without knowing how CSS works, it will be hard for you to edit or customize the template. I show it to you later. Let's see. Just skip the CSS part in my script. And I go here. So I prepared user CSS file for you as a demo. You can download it later from my website. I put the code now here in the user CSS and will explain to you what I did here. Is this big enough to read for everyone? Okay. So there's no possibility to add a font to the drop-down in Cassiopeia, but you can add your own fonts to the template. Two ways. One way to add fonts to the template is like just referencing Google web font. You can do it by import URL, and here you write which font you want to import. You can find the code at Google itself. Let's open the Google web page quickly. Yeah, so if there's a font you want to use, maybe maybe color font, you have here the styles, and you can select which style you want to use later on your website. And Google already writes you here how you can add the font to your template. Here's a link, or you can switch to import, and then you have here the import code you want to copy and paste into your template. And if you want to use this font later, you just use this font family statement to use this font later on in your template.
Elisa, I have one question with reference to the font. You mentioned that some countries, due to GDPR requirements, do not allow you to use the web-based fonts. They have to be local. So if you do the import, is that considered local at that point, or no? It really needs to be local in the template.
It really needs to be local in the template then. In Germany, it's very strict. So if you connect your website to any outside service like YouTube, web fonts, whatever, you have to first mention it in your privacy policy. And you need to offer the opt-out of it. So when I'm here on, for example, this website here, there's a cookie banner, and when I don't accept the cookies, here's Google Map, for example, and if I don't accept the cookies, the Google Map is not loaded. The fonts are actually local here, so they are loaded. When I click on accept cookies, the Google Map appears here.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to confirm, but we're going to work on it exactly as you did it with the importer, however you want to bring the content. There's up to everyone.
There's another possibility. I just lost my script where my links are. One moment. There's a very nice website where you can download the Google fonts and use it locally. And they provide also the code already that you can use in your CSS. One second.
So Joris asked a question, no cookie, no map extension. He was curious of what extension you use to do that for the cookies. And if you prefer, we can talk about that at the end of the session.
Yeah.
So we'll bring that up at the end.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the Google Web Fonts helper. I provide all the links at the end also. You don't have to write it down. The Google Web Fonts helper has, I think, almost all of the Google fonts. And you can select the styles. You have here the font face statements for your website. That's how you reference to the fonts when you use them locally. And you can download the web font files here. So you put this into your CSS, and then you need, of course, to create a fonts folder in your template, and then you can put the downloaded fonts into the fonts folder so to make it work. That's how you can use the fonts locally.
Perfect. And we're also getting some links in here, and I'm going to be sharing all the links afterwards as well.
Okay. So here at the top, I import this Georama font, and you can download this user CSS file later also, and I put comments into it so you remember what it was for. Here at the top, you have the possibility to change some basic colors that are used in the template. Here are some Cassiopeia ones. There's a color primary, link, and hover. And let's just disable this stuff for the moment. And also this. So we just see the changes that are done when you change here the colors. So I reload the website. And you see now a gradient from green to red. It's the primary color and the hover color. Maybe we could improve the variable names in future because it's like, for me, the secondary color. But with those colors, you change here the gradient at the top and here the link. Actually, red is also hover. Well, maybe we can add a secondary color variable in the root. So we have.
When you, I know you're going to give everyone a link to this CSS file, but when you created this user.css, did you copy this from Cassiopeia and put it as you, or did you type this from scratch?
I typed this from scratch.
Nuts. Okay, anyway.
Of course, that are variables that I use in Cassiopeia, but the other things I wrote from scratch. But it was like that in summer. I'm teaching a class of kids for a full week, Joomla, 5 days, 5 hours per day. And the kids are between 11 and 14, and each kid made our own website. And I also teach them CSS and how to change the colors of Cassiopeia. And I needed to give them examples on how to change the color of a button, how to change the color of a headline, and so on. And also some kids had own ideas how to put a background image behind a specific element and so on. And that's how this user CSS file was created. And I'm happy to share it because I think it's a great start for everyone to learn it. And for everyone who's not familiar with CSS, you really just need to know the basic things, and it's maybe a half hour of focused reading and seeing what are the rules of CSS, and then you have a really good start and can create a nice override for your Cassiopeia template. So, okay, that are those colors. Can I change them here? Yes, maybe do something nicer. Let's see what happens now. Okay, I like this more than the green and the red. Okay, let's change some of those things here. Here I copied some Bootstrap styles because Cassiopeia is based on Bootstrap 5. And some of the styles I use, some not. I'm not sure which I used from here. I don't think they are used very much. But what is absolutely used is the body font size, for example. It's set here to 2 rem, means 2 times the size of the default browser font size. Then here's the body font weight, the line height of the body color, means the font color, and the body background. If I save this and reload the page, okay, nothing happens. Oh yes, I don't know. What did I do? Maybe I did not clear my cache. I'm confused. 1 second. Okay, I need to investigate into this later on. It worked before. No
So
idea.
the file you're modifying is Cassiopeia dash, is that the folder that it's in, user.css?
Yes, it's the folder I showed before. It's here the CSS folder, and here's the user CSS file
Click on
in it.
That's the right file. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have to clear the local Joomla cache?
Maybe I have some styles afterwards that are changed. I don't know now. I don't know.
We have some debugging going on. So Canon mentions that in PHP Storm, there's an error in your file. I wonder if you have an extra. I see the error too. On the top right, I see an exclamation point with the 2 on the top right.
Yeah. What happened here actually?
Thank you, debugging everybody.
Thank you.
The hash did not change according to Max.
I maybe
don't delete the whole thing.
Yeah, I deleted it because I broke it somehow. There were way more lines that it should be.
Well, there's no more errors now, just warnings. Ah, wait.
Let's see.
Did you save it?
Yes, now it works. Okay.
Yay.
Thanks, everyone.
I'll cut that out in the recording, so only you guys are going to see that it took her a second to get there. Because my recording, she's going to have it right there.
Okay. Well, you don't have to cut it out. You know, making mistakes is something everyone can learn from. And yeah. So if you make the same mistake, you know where it comes from. So I don't know, maybe instead of cutting, I just pasted the code again and then the error appeared. So here in this variables from the Bootstrap 5, you can change the basic Bootstrap 5 stuff. And as said, I don't know where these colors appear exactly, maybe in the alerts and the warnings and so on. Maybe the gray appears in the cards. I did not investigate yet. I just copy pasted the Bootstrap default variables, but that ones that are responsible for the body font size, like you see here, 2 rem.
Elisa, I have a question about how you're using PHP Storm to edit the live file on the server. So do you have PHP Storm installed on this Joomla server so you're able to update the file, or what are you doing?
So I have PHP Storm opened, and the website is locally on my local host. And I just edit the files and yeah, and reload it on the website. I'm not sure if this answers your question.
I think it does. Yeah, Anne, does that answer that? I think that's great. Yes, that's it. Good, thank you.
You see, meanwhile, that there are way more changes than just the font size and the font type and so on, like here the shade behind the box and so on. It's because I uncommented everything, but let's go through it. I have here in the body, I use the imported font at the top. That's the very first thing I showed you, that if you use this Google font, Google gives you a style to copy, and you can just use it where you want to use it. You can also use the font just for the headlines, for example. You don't have to use it in your body. Just copy this line where you want to use the other font. Then we have the page header of Cassiopeia. That is actually with this gradient from green to red. But I made here override of the style, which is in Cassiopeia, and defined the gradient from this dark blue to this cyan color. And it looks like this now here. And you can make your own gradients or backgrounds. You can add here background image into the header here at the top. There's a nice helper. I lost my site again. Where is it? I know why. I did not open the links in a new tab. So, okay, I have here a nice helper for everyone who hates writing down the code. You can just define the colors for your gradient here and define how you want to have it, and say if it's psychedelic or not. And then you can just copy the code to your clipboard and add it into your header element here. Save. And then let's see. Beautiful. Okay, so there are a lot of helper how to create such a gradient, because sometimes writing down something like this is it's a little bit hard, so you can just use the generator. Next thing is a smaller banner. I forgot. Yes. Container banner. Let's disable this. It's actually for this one to make the banner a little bit smaller from the height. And for that, you can change the CSS of the container banner full width. That's because, wait, it's maybe because I have the fluid layout. Let me check.
So Elisa, I have a question about Cassiopeia, and I don't know if maybe Richard would be better to answer this. When you update Joomla, will it always come with the new version of Cassiopeia if it's updated, or is Cassiopeia as the template going to be a separate update? Because one concern of using a core, something that's tight with core like that, is you may not want the update right then and there, because this is affecting the overall look of your site.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that?
The one thing is to prevent that. You can copy a template. There's just what, not here.
But sometimes you want the update, right? Like, So it's
Yeah.
a catch-22. So yes, you could copy it and then make it as your own. But it's more of having the control of when the updates come through.
So the one thing is you can copy Cassiopeia and then, yeah, track the changes yourself and see what changed in between. But in Joomla 4.1, there will be the child template thing, and maybe this changes how you will work with templates in Joomla general. Richard, you know the
Yes,
answer?
Richard, come on in.
Well, two things. The first thing is if you update the core, also the core templates are updated, but a user CSS is never touched.
Right.
And you can have a user CSS also for the backend template. Also, that one is never touched.
But what if the update, let's say you put something in the user.css that works lovely, and then when you run the core Joomla update, it could break something in the user CSS. It's difficult to backtrack because Cassiopeia is not a separate installation. I can't say I'm going to upgrade Joomla, but hold off on any changes to Cassiopeia until I make sure it works.
That should not happen because the user CSS is loaded afterwards. So user CSS is always at the bottom, and anything what happens in Cassiopeia does not touch the user CSS.
And the other thing is, if you make a copy of your template, because in a template copy, you can do funny things. You can also add other fonts, font scheme. Yeah, there is no button for that, but it's possible. You can edit the XML file and you can add an SCSS or CSS file, and then you have made such customizations, and you can make overrides, you can change the files in the copy. And then in Joomla 4, there is a fancy thing which is called the override check. This shows you if you're, when you do an override for anything, and now you update that, what you have overridden, for example, extension. And then this shows you, there has been something changed in an update for an extension or the core, for which you have made an override. And then you have a view where you even can compare that and can see what has changed compared to your override.
Would it make sense to wait until after Joomla 4.1 comes out to make a copy of the Cassiopeia because of the changes that are coming up with Joomla 4.1?
No, these changes are not concerning the template itself, except maybe if you include path, but I think even that is not changed. It changes the template manager.
Okay. So as long as
how you manage your templates, now you have a template and you can copy that. And you have different views for the template itself and for the template style, which is the parameters which are stored in database. In future, these views will go together and you will not copy a template anymore. You will create a child template. That's a more convenient way, because when you do a copy, you have you copy everything and you have to maintain everything. When you make a child template, it is a little bit what people know maybe from WordPress. I think they have something like that. And this management will change, but I think the template itself will not change.
But then it does make sense.
So there is no need to wait.
But if we did decide to wait and then create a child instead of creating a copy of the template.
Yeah, okay, that could make sense if you want to wait that long. On the other hand, you can start to make your copy now and start learning.
Of course.
And you are ready when the child templates come.
Great. Thank you. Other questions? I'm sorry, Elisa, if I put other questions. No other questions. Sorry, I just rammed in there for our questions, but
no problem.
Elisa, keep going.
Okay, so the banner height I wanted to show here was not applied because I had the fluid with, maybe I not on fluid. I can define here the height of the banner. And if we look at it, I can change here the height to whatever I need. Yeah. Then we have here color the drop-down menu and the menu with the class Metis menu. So when I go here on the drop-down, this background is set up here. Let's see, let's make it yellowish. So you can change the color of the drop-down with this. And then, of course, you need also to change the color of this, but here it looks good, white on the yellow. That's the item color inside the drop-down menu. Then we have, let's make the banner smaller again. Then we have here the cards. That's the card for the login form. And I added here a box shadow. I can make this a bit smaller, so you can see the effect. Like this. There's surely a nicer way. Okay, I changed the shadow behind the box now. It doesn't look good. Let's just disable it, but you have this as an example inside the file. Then we have the background of the card itself, and you see here in the CSS style that I address the main top card. So if I do something here, I set, for example, the background to just black, nothing happens because I don't have any main top module. If you look at the code here with the inspector, you see here the classes, and this module here on the right has the class sidebar right card. And to address just the modules that are on the right side, I have to type in this class sidebar right card. If I reload the page, it has a black background here. So you can also make all cards in a specific color. If I just address the cards, and I reload it, and then all modules that have the card layout look like this. Then we have headings. I don't have any heading here. Maybe I have one here. Actually not. So it's not a H1, it is. H1. I had here a dot above the CSS, that's why it didn't work. So I have here text shadow and a color, and the H1 is colored like that. You can change it. And here it's changed. Then this is the code to color the buttons. Here's a button. The button has a green border around, and when I hover the button, it gets cyan. And that are the codes for changing the button color. Then I have here a style for the item image with a border around it. Let's go into the back end, into one of the articles, and I will add image to one of the articles. Here in the images and links tab, I just select something, maybe again, or space image. Sorry. To select the full image. Now we are here. So you have here the red border around the item image, because every image in the article has the class item image. You can add our own class to it. Here you have the field image class below the full article image, and you can add here our own class, just anything. Or you can add predefined classes that are already used in Cassiopeia. I come to this right afterwards. But you could just write here, for example, green border. Save it. And nothing happens, of course, because just when I write green border, nothing can happen. But when I write here, green border,
Elisa, I have a couple of quick questions. One is confirming that the file name does have to be user.css, and Richard said yes, because that's already in the assets JSON. But he also mentioned you can save the minified version as a user.min.css, then the minified version will be used as long as debug is not switched on in global config. And then another question is, could you use any class from Bootstrap? I'm assuming you have to use, it has to be Bootstrap 5, correct?
It has to be Bootstrap 5, and I'm actually not sure if Cassiopeia is based on Bootstrap, so it takes just some classes of it or not. Maybe someone here knows.
Richard, can you confirm that? Is it based on Bootstrap 5, so you can use any class in Bootstrap 5, or is it just specific ones?
Don't ask me if you can use any class. Cassiopeia uses Bootstrap 5, that's right. But Bootstrap 5, in opposite to previous Bootstrap versions, is modular. That means it's not a big JavaScript and CSS file. It is more smaller files for different purpose, and you load only what you need. So if you need an accordion, then you load only that. So I don't think Cassiopeia uses everything. A good starting point is to look on the CSS files or the SCSS files, the SAS files, which are already there. And then you can see what Cassiopeia does. These are, for example, overrides for the Bootstrap classes. And if there is something like that, then you can be sure Cassiopeia uses it somehow. But at the end, it's like Elisa said, look at the markup, look at the HTML, inspect the HTML, and you see what classes are there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to add accordions or something, I think you have to add them in the CSS, because if you look here into the template folder, into the vendor folder, and here's a Bootstrap folder, there's just a few Bootstrap SCSS.
Yeah, but that's not Bootstrap. That's the naming is a bit misleading. These are the overrides over the Bootstrap. These are modifications on Bootstrap stuff. The Bootstrap stuff itself is in the media folder, which you can't access from here. And that's what I've forgotten when we talked about the child templates. The big change on child templates will be that the media is located in the media folder and not anymore below the template folder. That will be the big change which will be coming. And here all the vendor stuff is in the media folder. And what you can then find here in the template, these are the overrides of that.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more question. If can you also mention about the Bootstrap JavaScript loading?
You said what? The
Not sure. Joe just asked a question about the Bootstrap JavaScript loading.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of scripts that are loaded. I don't know. There must be a possibility to unset them.
Or when you want things that are not loaded. If you want to include other things, when you want things that are not loaded, is what
then you have to have a copy or later on a child template from Cassiopeia and use the Web Asset Manager. I can share a link to the Web Asset Manager documentation later. That's actually...
Okay. Yeah, Joe mentioned like for tabs, for example, if you want to load that.
Yeah, then you would need to add it through the Web Asset Manager. So this Cassiopeia template is really very basic. However, it also uses the backend template when you do the front-end editing, and there are the tabs inside. So I'm not really sure what you have to do if you want to use tabs. I have to investigate in this later on. Because if you do front-end editing, you have the tabs in the front end. So there must be the possibility that you have tabs in Cassiopeia without loading any external script, I think.
Thank you. That was perfect. Keep going. I'm sorry if we delayed. So just to give everyone a heads up, we've been about an hour and 5 minutes. If Elisa is able to continue, would you like to? You're okay? All right.
Yes.
So marathon it. We're going to keep going and go. Thank you.
So yeah, I just changed here the class to green. I put here just our own custom class, green border. I added it here, and you see that the image in the front, sorry if I click so fast, the image of the front end is now here with the green border. Yeah, so let's see what we have left here. I have here the style for icons, if you have icon, or style for all icons that I used. You can define the color for it. And here's the style for the footer. We have no footer yet. Maybe we quickly add one. Where's the copyright? Oh, let's take this. And let's put it in the footer position. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so here's the footer with the color. So this is the user CSS file. That's not a complete file. That's just few examples what you can change in your template, and it doesn't look good, as you see, but at least you will remember it. What else? One moment. The user CSS. Yeah, I showed you while doing this here and while also debugging that you have here the browser console. And if you want to change a specific item in your Joomla website, you just click here with the inspector on an element, and here it's highlighted, and you have here the class that you have to change. And I share with you a very basic how to CSS document later, so you can learn how to write the dot, where to write the dot, where to write the colon and the semicolon and so on, and then you can try it yourself. Before opening for questions, I want to show you one more thing. Cassiopeia sorry, let's remove the custom code because my eyes hurt. Nice. So beside Bootstrap 5, Cassiopeia is also based on CSS Grid, and that's a very, very nice thing. And for me, I'm in the web business since 21 years now, and I was really hesitating to learn CSS Grid because it was quite hard to learn, and most of the browsers did not support it. But now our modern browsers support CSS Grid, and it's really, really nice and fun to create websites with CSS Grid. And that would be too much to show you how CSS Grid works. But if you inspect the site, and let's see the site grid. Here is the site grid. I hope you can read it a bit, because I can make it this larger too. Yeah. You see here the CSS code for the site grid. You see here the grid template areas. You have banner, 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 top A, top A, top A, and so on. That are all the module positions and also the component position that is defined here in the site grid. And you can just copy this and paste it into your user CSS and play with it. And you could, for example, put the banner of the site. Oops. Yes, I hope it's right what I did now. Let's see. It's not so easy to write in here. So anyway, you can put just the banner of the site at the bottom with CSS Grid. You can define the positions of your modules with CSS Grid in the CSS, and also how many columns they take and so on. Let's just reload the site here. And if I click here in Firefox on this grid, you see the grid of the site and the columns that are available. And yeah.
So for example, if you had bottom A, by default, bottom A will go across. So if you have 4 instances of bottom A, it will by default go across. When you're in a cell phone view, it will automatically stack. CSS Grid is making that happen.
Yeah, you can define basically everything in CSS Grid, where something is positioned. Let me
and then
share.
Ellen has a question too, which I'm going to do next.
There's one article here from Joomla 51. They were quite involved into Cassiopeia development, and here's very good explanation how CSS Grid works in general and also in the Joomla template. So you can just define how the elements spread across the site. And there's a second
So, but
link.
by default in Cassiopeia, it automatically goes across. That's the way it's originally set up. But you can set it so bottom A is always stacked.
Yeah, so here it's set banner, 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 and top A, top A, top A, and so on. But you could write here top B next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's top A, 2 columns above each other, and top B, 2 columns above each other. So there's a lot you can change from the layout just by changing the CSS grid. And I love this. There's a CSS grid free online course by Westboss. It's completely free and it's really worth it. You can just make the lessons, and after the lessons you are CSS Grid Pro.
So I have another question, which I think is a great question, something you may be able to show easily. So Ellen asked about making the sticky nav bar transparent so you can see the banner under it, and then it goes to solid on the scroll. And that would just be in user.css to define the background of sticky to be one way and top in another way. I'm assuming that can be done.
So one thing, you can make it sticky, and the second thing is the top banner position. Let's see how it's here.
So yeah, once
it actually starts just here. Container banner, and the grid is here. So this grid is.
So basically, I think, Ellen, is this correct? You want a different background depending on if you're on the scroll versus if it's just straight across. Correct, Ellen? Just making sure we're asking, but I've seen that before where on the sticky, you want it to look one way. But so it depends on the layers that they created, if the sticky can be isolated. So when you're in the sticky movement, when you're scrolling, it could have color X. Yeah, she's saying yes, yeah.
Like that?
Well,
Yeah.
Yes, but when it's not sticky,
Yeah.
a different color. So basically when you're on the regular menu view, it's red.
Yeah,
Once
so
I start scrolling, it's implementing the sticky view to have a different color.
Okay. So here
yeah.
in the Cassiopeia template, if you can see it here.
You might have to create an override to do that. Let's see.
No, you don't have to create an override, but here at the position sticky, you see when I scroll, nothing happens to this header in the class. No class is changing at scrolling. That means that you cannot add any CSS class to change the appearance of the menu at this point, because it's always sticky at the top. But the same as you could add user.css file to the CSS folder, you can add a user.js file to the JavaScript folder. And then you can say, if the viewport is minus whatever, then add a class to the header, which means I scrolled now. You can just copy paste it from Stack Overflow.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Ellen, does that answer that? So you would create a user.js JavaScript.
Yes. You just create here in the site templates.
You copy the code basically.
Yeah, there are many codes like that. If you search for a scroll down at class JavaScript, there's add remove stop, no jQuery. So there's no jQuery in Cassiopeia because jQuery you don't need it anymore. You can just use pure JavaScript, which is also called vanilla.js. But here's something, vanilla.js change at class based on scroll position. So you maybe could try out this code, and here's also the CSS for it. And maybe this already works. Here's a reference to CodePen. I like CodePen a lot too. And yeah.
Thank you.
We can, I add this link to the chat maybe because it's not in my.
Yes, add it. I'll put it on. to my notes. I'm taking lots of notes that I'll share with you, and we make a good team. Okay.
I just don't know where the chat is.
You found it?
I just send it to you directly because
That's fine.
here's the chat.
I got you.
I was boycotting Zoom a very long time because it was so unsafe in the past.
Is it better now for you?
I hope. At some point I could not. At some point I could not. Huh?
You can't use it for your kids, right?
Of my what?
Your kids, your training, your classes.
No, for the training, Zoom is, I think, not allowed at any school in Germany because of the security reasons. The schools use mostly big blue button. I sent the link later because I lost it in the Zoom app.
That's fine. That's fine. What other
CSS grid? Yeah, one more thing to show you. There are some CSS grid predefined classes in Cassiopeia without needing you to change anything in the user CSS. And that are settings you can make in the blog and in the article. And I'm not sure what will happen when I click now on blog sample data, but I need it. Let's see, maybe it breaks. Let's see what happens now. Oh, well, okay, fair enough. So I just installed some sample contents because I want to show you something in the blog. You have here the blog page, the blog, how is it called? Category blog. And you have here some sample items. The blog has 2 columns. When I click here now on menus, main menu, not this main menu, this maybe? Yeah, this one. And I added now the blog menu item. I have here the blog layout tab. And in this blog layout tab, I have here the leading article class. I can put here some different classes and like boxed. Boxed means that there's a box around it. And columns 2 means that I have 2 columns. I can change it to 3 columns by just typing columns 3. And then it's 3 columns here. And it's possible up to 4. So when I reload it, I have now 4 columns here. And I have leading articles and intro articles. I can say that I want to have 1 leading article in just 1 column and 4 intro articles. And I copy paste it here with 4 columns. Let's check how it looks like. So I have here now the leading article, and here 3 columns because there's no 4th article. Let's do it in 3 columns now. So these are settings that you can just do by adding a class. Beside the columns class, let's change back to this. You have also a masonry class. Who knows what is masonry? Does someone know? Masonry is like blocks that
Building blocks.
slide, yeah, that slide into each other. So the block is not with the same height. You see that the articles have here different heights. If I reload it now with the masonry, that was stupid, wait, masonry 4 class. I reload it now. It's not saved yet. But now, so masonry 4 is just as high as it needs to be. Let's take masonry 2, so you can see how the boxes float into each other. You see the next box begins where the top one ends. That's the masonry layout.
So I have two questions based on this. Where can you get the full listing of masonry boxed? And Richard mentioned in Bootstrap docs. So Richard, I'm guessing the Bootstrap documentation within Joomla, or
no, so there's
Bootstrap 5.
one. No, that's these classes are not referring to Bootstrap. These classes are from Cassiopeia that use CSS Grid. And these classes can be found in the PR, which introduces these classes. And I share the link with you afterwards.
Fine, great.
I just tell you what is possible here.
And the other question was, hold on, there was another class choices. And where is the default site grid code? Is that going to be also in the link that you're sending me? Default CSS grid code, which file is that in?
It's in cssgrid.css.
Okay.
And here's the default CSS code from the Cassiopeia template, at least for the main thing. I think the block classes are somewhere else, but you can find it in the CSS files of Cassiopeia. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Two classes to show. You're welcome. So we had the columns 2 to 4. We have masonry. We have boxed. We can also remove the box. Then it's not inside of a box. And then we have some classes for the images. I can say that I want to have an image left or right. Let's do here columns 1 and image minus left. Save it. And when I reload it now, I have the image on the left side. I can do the same with image right. If I reload it now, the image is on the right side. And I can put the image at the bottom. And then the image is at the bottom. And you did not need to make any changes to the block. You don't have to do a block override. It's all done by CSS Grid, and that's the real power of CSS Grid. And I'm really happy that we are using it here. There's one more setting we can add here. That's the image alternate. And image. I think I have to add the first class at least. Let's see. I did not test this yet. It's not saved yet. Yeah, so it works. So here the first image is on the left, the second is on the right. That's the image alternate class that we are using here. And you can, of course, add any custom classes you want here and define it in the user CSS. Yeah, as said, I will share the link to the classes afterwards. And you have something similar in the article. If we click on here on read more, you have here the image on the left side. And you can set this in the article settings. What is this? About your homepage. Articles. About your homepage. It's here. And I can add here in the images and links, float start or float end. And if I reload it now, I'm always too fast. Now it's on the right side with float end. Yeah, and you could maybe add here image circle class and define inside your user CSS that the image should be clipped. Yeah, you have to add it in the user CSS file. That's all for now. I show you something. I used my website as a script. I updated here a blog post just today for this presentation today. And you can find it at coolkitcreations.com on the blog, how to customize your Cassiopeia template. And I have here all the screenshots where you find something, what you can change, the module positions of Cassiopeia. I have here also, it's everything what I talked about. I have here also some CSS basics for you, so you can learn a little bit how CSS code is written and what you have to look for if you write CSS in general. Then I have here some popular CSS instructions and helpful links like the gradient generator, or what is padding, what is margin, what can also generate a box shadow here. Then I have my example user CSS file I showed you with the code, and you can download the code also. Then I have here some more links to help you with CSS, like the web font helper, Google Fonts, how you find nice colors. Here, nice color schemes. If you're not sure if you should follow my examples from today or not. So you can select here some colors. Then I have here something about the CSS grid and the classes I just used in the blog. Image alternate, boxed, and so on. The classes you can use in the articles. The link to the CSS Grid online class from Westboss. The link to the explanation for Cassiopeia from Joomla 51. The CSS Grid file inside Cassiopeia. There's a really nice Cassiopeia demo page on cassiopeia.joomla.com. I should open the links in the window. So here's also a lot of help. I think Viviana made this website. Kudos to Viviana. And here's the information about adding a custom JavaScript file. And many thanks to Viviana, Astrid, and Hagen. They wrote very nice articles about what is possible. And I had almost just to compile everything. And very important, there are these upcoming changes in Joomla 4.1. And I think it will be merged already this week. So have a look on it and test, comment, add your feature requests, and so on. Thank you.
Thank you. I think everyone is so super excited with everything you just shared with us. And so thank you all for coming.